This isn't the list of enemies. It just says, yippee-ki-yay, mother... And just like that...
Alright, part 2. Let's get it.
King Louis and his family were now in the Tuileries Palace in Paris, where for the next couple of years, he watched as the revolutionary government began to strip away his power. And fearing for his safety, he had to stay on their good side. Hey, look who it is. It's my favorite revolutionaries. Yep, I'm your #1 fan. What can I do for you? Hey, King Louis. So we've made a few decisions. First, all of your friends in the nobility are gonna have to pay taxes the same as everyone else. Great idea. I love it. And as a side note, the tax money can no longer pay for all your lavish parties. Great. I hate those parties. They're so awkward. And also, we're taking away your Porsche. Oh, come on! I mean, yay. The king...
I mean, I've always wondered this question, right? If King Louis of France, right, was taking all the money and was spending it all on lavish parties, right? How was France even able to function as a state, right? How was he able to fund the army? Unless it was one of those situations where the state was taking on the money, taking it for themselves, and keeping the rest for the military, right? Kind of like Russia, right? Because Russia kind of, it's kind of like that, you know, and the people are, you know, able to get by, right? That's not like an insult to like Russia or anything. I love Russia, right? But I'm just saying, it's kind of like that, I guess, but, you know, it just kind of like blows my mind how that could even, like, you know, work.
King continually found demand after demand being made of him to prove his support for the revolution. On one occasion, a mob would invade the palace and demand...
I lose some weight. You know what? No. Because usually back then, when you were like fat/obese back then in this time period, that was actually a sign of power, right? Because that meant that you had access to all of these foods. If I remember correctly, I think back then the beauty standard, because beauty standards are literally a social construct, right? I think back then the beauty standards were more preferred towards like chunkier like type of chicks. Based on what I see now today, it's more catered towards skinny. It's kind of dumb. Beauty standards are ridiculously dumb, but that's a whole different topic. Let's continue.
On occasion, a mob would invade the palace and demand he wear the revolutionary bonnet. This is the face of a man who is definitely pretending he wants to wear that bonnet. Now,
oh, dude, look at his face. Oh, look at that face, dude. He has that smile, dude. Oh, dude, that's actually funny. That's actually funny, bro. Oh my gosh, he has that like grin where he's like, I don't want to be here. Oh, that's so sad.
He wants to wear that bonnet.
Oh.
Now, around here, I want to mention that one thing King Louis had a problem with was people constantly raiding his palace. But one thing he didn't have a problem with was raiding noobs on this video's sponsor, Raid.
Alright, skipping. I'm just gonna skip that. I don't like Raid Shadow Legends.
Oh yeah. Seeing the situation rapidly turning against him, the king decided it might be a good idea to leave France and mount a campaign to retake his country from abroad. Luckily for him, he was married to an Austrian. So on the night of June 20th, 1791, the king and his family disguised themselves as servants and attempted to flee to the Austrian Netherlands. The royal carriage made a stop in the town of Varennes, and the postmaster there was like, "Hey guys, what's up? Where are you off to?" "We are but a collection of inconspicuous servants heading for the border for no particular reason at all." "Say, you, the fat one, you look kind of familiar. Aren't you the king?" "Nope. Let me see your passport. It says here you're King Louis the 16th. "Nope, not me." Take him away, boys. The king was promptly returned.
Wait. Pause. If he's a king, he has the authority to leave the country, right? No one can't just order him to go back, right? Because this is before the revolution had turned like really bad, if I'm not mistaken, right? So who are these people to tell him where he can and can't go, right? Also, this is a horrible idea. I mean, this is super horrible. I mean, he probably would have been able to do it if he had done the plan better. Also, he's using his passport. Dude, when you're doing something like this, you typically need to make like false documents, right? Um, I don't understand what he was doing, but by using his literal passport. But still, who are they to tell him, "Hey, go back"? Can someone answer that? Like, how were they able to tell him, "Hey, go back"? And the royal carriage. Listen, like he's the king. You can't tell the king what to do, right? Like, how are they? Like, seriously, like I want someone to answer that question for me. Like, these are revolutionaries, yeah, but they were still below the king, right? So they don't have the authority to do that, right? I don't know. I feel like I'm missing something that oversimplified isn't really talking about. Again, this is oversimplified, so you simplify everything. And that's where you people come in and answer my questions that I have. Because believe me, I read my comments.
To Paris. But now the jig was up. His lack of support for the revolution was clear to all, and many considered him a straight-up traitor who tried to abandon his people. As a result, the new constitution of 1791 completely reduced his powers to that of a simple figurehead, a constitutional monarch. However, radicals, such as those in the Jacobin Club, were outraged that the king wasn't to be removed entirely. So a month later, these radicals staged a protest on the Champ de Mars, calling for the king's removal. The government of Paris feared an insurrection was mounting, and they sent the military to disperse the crowd. The confrontation escalated and resulted in the Revolutionary National Guard firing on a crowd of revolutionaries. It was a massacre. The incident exposed
friendly fire? Question mark? But this reminds me, this is kind of similar to how when the Soviet Union, when Russia went into its revolution, there was a different bunch of factions in the left, right? The left being the Bolsheviks, the Mensheviks, the radicals, but there were still a whole bunch of different factions in the left, and they all had like kind of different goals, right? Kind of, right? But it's still kind of similar. I could draw a parallel here, right? But the radicals wanted something completely different, right? The radicals wanted like a completely whole different system for Russia, right? And they got what they wanted, which, Russia eventually became the Soviet Union, or, well, formed into the Soviet Union along with Belarus, Ukraine, and the other Soviet republics. But there were many different people that were left-leaning that kind of didn't want that to happen. I could say, if you disagree, you could tell me in the comments why you disagree. But this video is about Russia, so this is about France. I'm just saying that this is a very interesting parallel here, right? Because you have revolutionaries firing on revolutionaries, but technically they're part of the same side, right? Kind of like how you had the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks, but they were all like infighting, kind of, right? Because again, they had like different ideals and whatnot, right? So yeah, let's continue.
A deep division within the Brotherhood of the Revolution.
See what I mean?
The moderates who wanted to keep the king as a figurehead. On the other, radicals who wanted to see the king deposed and heads roll. In the wake of the massacre, these radicals received a wave of support. And speaking of rolling heads, one form of equality the revolution introduced was equality in execution. This meant no more torturous drawing and quartering, no more inhumane hanging. They wanted all criminals, regardless of economic status, to receive the same penalty, a quick and painless one. Luckily, a man by the name of Dr. Joseph Guillotine had an idea. A heavy blade that falls like thunder. The head flies off, blood spurts, and the man is no more. The guillotine, otherwise known as...
Yo, let's talk about the guillotine for a second. The guillotine is interesting because although technically you're supposed to instantly die from it, there are a few cases where it seemed like the person who had their head chopped off didn't die for like a couple of seconds afterwards. And then you kind of have to wonder to yourself, how long does the brain last without oxygen, right? I remember, because I was curious about this myself. I was like, do you really die when you get your head chopped off? Like, Like, do you really? I mean, sure, but I've always wondered, like, can you like last for at least like up to a minute, really and truly? Probably not, I guess, because the blood eventually drains out that's in your head, and then you die and then you pass out. But I don't really think that you die. I think that you go unconscious and then you die a couple of minutes later, right? Because I think what when you lose your oxygen supply, your brain cells start to die after like a couple of minutes. I could be wrong about that, but still, like when your head get chopped off, you're still alive. Okay. Now the question is, because scientists don't even understand how consciousness works. Scientists are very ignorant of consciousness. The question is, are you still conscious when your head is off your body? Right? But you'd think that, oh, we have to answer that. No, because I did a bit of digging into this because I was curious myself, because I'm a weirdo. But scientists don't even know anything about consciousness. They don't even know. They barely scratch the surface when it comes to consciousness. So, with that in mind, because a lot of people tend to say, oh, we have science, we have science. Bro, science is ignorant about so many things that you can honestly ask a lot of valid questions. Okay, so do keep that in mind. Let us continue.
Quick and painless one. Luckily, a man by the name of Dr. Joseph Guillotine had an idea. A heavy blade that falls like thunder. The head flies off, blood spurts, and the man is no more. The guillotine, otherwise known as the national razor.
There's a growing interest.
The guillotine made its debut in 1791 as the new form of execution. The writings of Marat and others continued to call for the execution of anyone suspected of working against the revolution. For him, this included some members of the clergy and nobility who had previously benefited from the cruel system of inequality
It's carpet. It's carpet. Sorry.
that existed before the revolution. In many parts of the countryside, local lords had found themselves become a target. Sire, the peasants, they're revolting. Oh, come on, that's a bit harsh. Sure, they smell a bit, but I wouldn't say they're revolting. Oh yes, I see what you mean. Increasingly, these French aristocrats began fleeing France to find solitude in other parts of Europe. And once again, fear began to take hold. The privileged classes of these foreign nations didn't like.
So they were able to flee, but the king couldn't flee. Again, I'm asking, why couldn't the king leave the country, but these people could leave the country? Like, huh? Question mark?
What they were seeing because they feared revolutionary ideas may spread to their own lands. The National Assembly actually
Understandable. Very understandable, actually. They had a point. I've already done a reaction to the 1848 revolution. I'm actually going to draw a very interesting parallel here, right? The Haitian Revolution, the only successful slave revolt that actually worked, okay? Back on my country, Barbados, we also had a major revolt, but it failed. Now, the Haitian Revolution inspired the revolt on the one on Barbados, because when the slaves on Barbados heard about the Haitian revolt, many of them were like, hey, if they can do that, maybe we can do that, right? So again, this is a bit parallel because this is a valid concern by the other monarchies, right? Because ideas spread. Ideas are bound to spread, bro. Thoughts and ideas are bound to spread. You can't stop that, bro. So I can't even blame them. Granted, they were rich, snobby people who were probably doing pretty poor, I guess. But from their point of view, it's valid. It's valid. In the 1848 revolution video that I did by Ebe History TV, go check it out after this one when you're done watching. That kind of did happen, right? So, yeah.
Fear began to take hold. The privileged classes of these foreign nations didn't like what they were seeing because they feared revolutionary ideas may spread to their own lands. The National Assembly, actually now the Legislative Assembly, feared that these nations may decide to attack. Then why don't we attack them first? No, you idiots, we are definitely not ready for war yet. Did somebody say something? France declared war on Austria in April 1792 and immediately got pummeled. It also didn't help that Austria's ally, Prussia, joined in the fighting. The Prussian Duke of Brunswick posted a letter warning the revolutionaries that if anything happened to the king, he would burn Paris to the ground. The Duke's letter proved to be a massive success in inspiring the people of Paris to do the exact opposite of what he intended. They were enraged by the threat, and on the 10th of August...
Really? 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 This is a very interesting response. Let's talk about that response real quick. Why would they be enraged by that threat, right? Because, well, okay, this is before every single country in Europe was fighting France, I guess. So it was only Austria, it was only Prussia. So I guess from their perspective, that letter would be so audacious, right? That letter would be very audacious on the Prussians' part. Now that I think about it, but still, I thought that letter would work. I mean, I thought that letter would work. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, oh, that's kind of a threatening letter, but I'm kind of using hindsight, and this is a lot of problem that a lot of people in the history community do, right? They use hindsight too much, way too much. They see something happens that way in our real time, in our canon timeline. They're like, oh well, I'm gonna make a inference based on that. No, that's not how that works. I have argued with so many people in my comments about this so many times, and I see that they're using hindsight. They're not arguing from the perspective of the people, like, whilst the moment was happening. It's just, please, guys, please, whenever you, like, it's not bad to have a take on something. That's the whole point of history, right? You debate, you have takes, you discuss, you have discussions on certain topics. But please, just stop. Like, in the future, I'm going to talk more about that, but it's just something that really bothers me. I see so many people use hindsight, and I call them hindsight warriors, right? It just bothers me so much, guys. Please, stop doing that. Please, if you know you do that, please. Oh my gosh.
Massive success in inspiring the people of Paris to do the exact opposite of what he intended. They were enraged by the threat, and on the 10th of August 1792, the tension in the city exploded, and a mob stormed the king's palace. Fighting broke out between the revolutionaries and the king's Swiss guard, with casualties in the hundreds. King Louis fled and took...
Swiss guards? Like, they're from Switzerland? The king had Swiss guards. Where were these guards when he was trying to flee? I'm so confused. Why didn't the king even have... What? Oh my god, this makes no sense. Okay, so he tried to flee, but he didn't have any guards, and he was sent back. I don't know how you could send back a king. That still doesn't make any sense to me. Where was his guards? Also, Swiss guards? Were these guys actually from Switzerland? Somebody answer that for me. Please and thank you.
Exploded, and a mob stormed the king's palace. Fighting broke out between the revolutionaries and the king's Swiss guard, with casualties in the hundreds. King Louis fled and took refuge in the chamber of the Legislative Assembly, where Robespierre and his radical Jacobins were gaining ever more power. Given the developing situation, the chamber decided to hold a vote, and in what some considered to be a second revolution, it was decided to suspend the monarchy entirely. King Louis XVI was now just plain old Louis, and he was sent to a prison cell where an eye could be kept on him. A month later, the newly established National Convention officially declared the French Republic, and society underwent a massive change. Enlightened ideas of democracy and equality were being implemented, but very quickly, these ideas seemed to be...
Once again, where was the king's guard when he was sent to jail? Surely he still had people loyal to him. Like, in any situation, there's always going to be those people who are just diehard loyal to you, okay? Like, that like, even when, like, let's take, like, World War II, right? For example. Like, when Germany was on the brink, people were still loyal towards Mr. Mustache Man, right? But, like, this... Where's his guards? I don't understand. Like, we just had the Swiss guards here. I know, okay, he's sent to jail. Like, what the heck? They just let him. What the heck? This makes no sense to me. Someone please explain this to me. This makes no sense to me.
And society underwent a massive change. Enlightened ideas of democracy and equality were being implemented, but very quickly, these ideas seemed to become secondary to fear, paranoia, and a thirst for blood. The new republic began working to violently remove any semblance of the old royalist regime. The church became a prime target. Priests who refused to take an oath to the revolution were deported or arrested. A new state-sponsored atheistic religion named the Cult of Reason was created as a replacement for the
Ew, atheism. Ew.
Catholic Church. Not
Ew. Actually, I don't know. I don't want to say this on camera, but Catholic Church is very corrupt. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not even gonna elaborate on that. Because I know there's a bunch of people who are still diehard Catholics to this day. Like, I'm sorry, but like, Catholic Church is very corrupt. But still, atheism, oh my gosh, dude. But they're both bad. Oh, I hope I don't offend anyone saying that. Like, they're both bad.
The revolution were deported or arrested. A new state-sponsored atheistic religion named the Cult of Reason was created as a replacement for the Catholic Church. Notre Dame, along with many other churches, had their religious treasures destroyed and were converted to temples of reason. Even the Christian calendar didn't survive, as a brand new revolutionary calendar was soon introduced. Hey honey, I'm home. Yeah, whatever, jerk. Whoa, what's wrong with you? You forgot. Forgot what? Everything! This entire year! My birthday was on the 3rd of Germinal, our anniversary was the 12th of Thermidor, and you promised that in Frimaire, we'd go on a romantic weekend trip to Venice. No, I said we'd do that in December. December hasn't been a thing for years! The government of Paris, now under the control of the...
Ew. Bro, that's... Oh, that's ew. That's... Ew! It's funny to me whenever I see atheist people. Dude, atheism is like, oh my god, I don't want to talk too much about that here. But like, atheism just, it has so much holes in it. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
December hasn't been a thing for years. The government of Paris, now under the control of the radical sans-culottes, began rounding up suspected enemies of the revolution and sending them to prison in the thousands. Naturally, a large number of those arrested were members of the clergy and aristocracy. As France's foreign enemies continued to close in, panic spread.
Yo, I completely forgot France was at war. Oh my gosh, France was at war whilst this whole thing was going on. What the heck?
As France's foreign enemies continued to close in, panic spread. Georges Danton made impassioned calls for men to defend the Republic, and tens of thousands of troops left Paris for the front lines. However, in their absence, Paris was left to its own devices. As enemy troops arrived in Verdun, the people of Paris feared that their crowded prisons were becoming a breeding ground for counter-revolutionary conspiracy.
Yeah.
What would happen if the Prussians reached Paris and freed the aristocrats? Marat believed he knew what would happen. The aristocrats would enact their vengeance on the people. Fearing those they had already imprisoned, mobs descended on Paris's prisons. They broke in, and during the brutal September massacres, aristocrats, priests, and others were on the spot. Even women and children weren't spared.
What? The children? What did the children do? What? The children? Really? Oh my, that's ridiculous. Oh my gosh, that's so... Okay, I get it. You're a grown adult, but... Children? What?
With over 1,600 victims, word of the massacre spread across Europe. One British newspaper wondered, are these the rights of man? Is this the liberty of human nature? But there was still one man in particular that Robespierre and his radicals really wanted to see executed. Austria and Prussia pledged that after they defeated France, they'd return King Louis to the throne. Well, checkmate Austria and Prussia, because you can't return a man to the throne if he's already dead. Citizen Louis Capet was put on trial for treason. Obviously, he was found guilty, but his punishment was less certain. Many moderates wanted to simply deport him, but Robespierre insisted the revolution could only live if the king was dead. A vote was held, and by just
Okay, so it's very interesting. Let's discuss about this, because when I was reacting to my Napoleon, and this is why I actually decided to react to the French Revolution, because I needed to like refresh my brain on this. Somebody in my Napoleon video told me that a lot of the French people didn't really want the king dead. That was just the radicals, right? So I was like, wait, what? Because back then I believed that everyone in France wanted the king dead. But someone told me, no. A lot of people, you could even argue like majority of people, they didn't really want to see the king dead. They just wanted rights. I was like, oh, okay, but, from the perspective of the revolutionaries, I would say they have a point. Because as long as the king is alive, he still has legitimacy to the throne, right? Even if it is a republic, he can still return and be like, hey guys, yeah, I am taking back my throne, right? So the revolutionaries have a point. Napoleon actually did that, right? When he returned and the whole 100 days thing happened. So this is a legit, justified fear, right? Let's continue.
one vote, Louis was sentenced to the guillotine. If you don't mind, I'd like to say a few words first. Gentlemen, I am innocent of everything of which I am accused. Wait, you're too loud. They can't hear me. Hang on, I haven't finished yet. Wait, dude!
Did this actually happen? Did that actually happen? No way, did that actually happen? Like, seriously, someone please confirm, did that actually happen?
Uncool. In her prison cell, Marie Antoinette heard the guns fire, signaling her husband's death. Before long, she would meet the same fate.
Ah, heck nah, dude. Oh no, dude. Oh, nah. That's terrifying. That's terrifying. Like, imagine, like, you hear the gunshot signaling that, like, your husband is dead, and you realize that, oh, I'm next. That's terrifying. That's terrifying.
Back on the war front, France defied all expectations and actually managed to push the enemy back. But then more countries joined the coalition against France, and it all went to pot again. What do? Conscript the masses! The National Convention introduced a conscription law, with each regional department having to meet a certain quota of men for the army. However, not everyone was happy with this new law. You see, while Paris was definitely a hotbed for radical revolutionary fervor, some of the regions outside of Paris weren't quite so keen on the revolution. Some were largely still conservative, still supported the church, and just didn't suffer from that much inequality before the revolution. So as the revolution turned increasingly violent,
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, a lot of France still supported the whole anti-revolutionary thing, right? A lot more than I realized. So this is quite enlightening to me. Get it? Because, enlightening ideas and sorry. Dad joke. I make a lot of dad jokes. Seriously. You're gonna have to get used to me saying that.
and Christian, many were outraged. Now they were being conscripted to fight for the new republic they hated. That was the last straw. Counter-revolutionary uprisings erupted in a number of regions across France. Some would last for years, such as in the northwest, where a large-scale uprising was led by the Owls. Why were they called the Owls? Because their leader was named Jean Owl. Why was he called Jean Owl? Possibly because he could do a really good impression of an owl. Really?
What?
That's what we're going with?
What?
Owls? Just because this guy can do an impression of one? Hit him with it, Jean. Hoot, hoot. Yeah, okay, that's pretty good.
It's not even good.
The Chouannerie uprising lasted all the way until 1800. In the summer of 1793, the southern
1800? What the heck were they doing all that time? Jeez.
city of Toulon invited the British Navy over for some tea and crumpets. And then they asked if they'd possibly like to stay and
Yeah, I know about Toulon. I watched Napoleon's victory at Toulon. The infamous siege of Toulon. Okay. Yeah, I know about too long.
Invited the British Navy over for some tea and crumpets. And then they asked if they'd possibly like to stay and occupy the city. Being an important naval base, this was a heavy blow to the Republic, who sent a relatively unknown young captain by the name of Napoleon Bonaparte to help stage the siege of the city. Toulon was recaptured by France in the winter, and for his service, Napoleon was promoted to the rank of Brigadier General. The most infamous counter-revolution, however, occurred in the Vendée region. Throughout 1793, revolutionary forces clashed with the region's Catholic and Royal Army. The Republic defeated the counter-revolution through cruel pacification. In particular, General Jean-Baptiste Carrier committed brutal atrocities.
Really?
For instance, he had thousands of civilians, priests, women and children tied to ships, which were then sunk. Carrier would later be found guilty.
What the hell? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh. No. What the? Tied to ships? What the heck? No. Whoa. That is barbaric. That is so barbaric. What? Okay.
Of war crimes and executed. Back in Paris.
Well deserved. Oh my gosh. Maybe he should have been freaking tortured before he died. Like, seriously, man. Eye for an eye, bro. Bro, you know something that I really respect in history? Hammurabi. I love Hammurabi's code. Eye for an eye, bro. Low key, we need to use, like, we kinda need to use Hammurabi's code. I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying. We need Hammurabi's code. Eye for an eye, bro. I'm just saying.
Which were then sunk. Carrier would later be found guilty of war crimes and executed. Back in Paris, the government was still dominated by moderates. With the war going badly, revolts in the provinces, and the economy getting worse, it seemed the government just wasn't doing a very good job. Radicals' fear for the safety of the revolution intensified, and Marat even began calling for the moderates in the government to be executed. In return, the moderates called for the arrest of Marat. This led to a chain of events with the two sides in heated conflict. Robespierre declared the Jacobins to be an insurrection and called on the people to arm themselves.
Of course.
On the 31st of May 1793, with the National Convention surrounded by radical sans-culottes and 29 moderate Girondin politicians arrested. From this moment on, the moderates ceased to be a political force. Robespierre and his radicals would be in almost total control of the government. And this brings us to the story.
So, isn't that basically de facto dictatorship right there? Right? This is the problem with democracy, right? That a lot of people don't seem to understand. What if one power controls everything? And when I say one power, I mean like, what if one party controls like everything, right? The legislation, the judicial system. What if they control everything? What now? Right? Hypothetically speaking, they can just pass laws left, right, and center. Who's gonna stop them? Like, that's why I say it's like de facto dictatorship right there. I just don't like, people today, they try to paint out democracy as this, you know, thing that is there to solve problems, and like, no, democracy can easily turn into something bad, right? Wait, isn't that how Rome kind of turned into an empire? I don't know the history of Rome too much, but I'm pretty sure that's literally how Rome turned into an empire, because Julius Caesar eventually, like, I think Caesar took control of, like, the Senate and literally like every aspect of the government with his allies, if I'm not mistaken, right? And it was still technically a republic, but because he had his allies in power, right, he was able to basically keep all the power for himself, right? If I'm not mistaken, right? I don't know. That's literally why I'm like reacting to Roman history right now. I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, this is the main problem with democracy. Let's continue.
A woman named Charlotte Corday. Charlotte lived in the northwest city of Caen, and like many in the area, was horrified at the rapid radicalization and increasing violence of the revolution. And the man she blamed more than anyone was Jean-Paul Marat. She wanted to bring peace back to France, and so she did something drastic. She traveled to Paris and told Marat she had a list of enemies for him to publish in his paper. Marat eagerly invited her in for a meeting. So where's that list of enemies you promised me? Here it is. Wait a minute. This isn't a list of enemies. It just says yippee-ki-yay, mother. And just like that, Marat was.
Oh wow. Okay, so how did he fall for that? How did he fall for that? Dude, when you are someone popular, right? You don't just let people in your house. Like eventually there's gonna be someone that wants to kill you, right? For whatever reason it is. Like come on, Mara. This is very not thinking properly. Murat, you were caught lacking. I keep saying Murat, but I keep thinking of Napoleon's Marshal Murat, the flamboyant cavalry general. But the names are similar. But you know who I'm talking about, okay?
No more. Charlotte was quickly arrested and sent to the guillotine. Her dream of restoring peace, however, died with her. Marat became a martyr. In temples of reason, symbols of the dead Marat became the new crucifix. In death,
Oh, that is a sin. That is a big sin. Big no. Big no. You can't do that. That is literally false idols. Oh my gosh. If there's one thing that God really hates, is false idols. That is a big no. A big no. Big no. Yikes. Ugh. Well, I'm not religious. I don't care. I don't care. Oh my god, dude. Like, bro, I would be so honest with you, right? If I was in a position of power, I would literally, like, I know you're not supposed to, like, force religion on people, but I would. Any and everything that isn't related to Christianity, I honestly would probably prosecute. I'm not gonna lie. Like, if you're promoting something that is against Christianity, I will, like, if I was in a position of power, I would probably outlaw that. I'm gonna be so honest. Let us continue.
However, died with her. Marat became a martyr. In temples of reason, symbols of the dead Marat became the new crucifix. In death, he became an even more powerful inspiration for the extreme levels of violence that were about to rip throughout the new republic. And that's right, here comes the Reign of Terror.
You're gonna have to get used.
Thought this revolution already sounds pretty violent. Well, you ain't seen nothing yet, son. The radicals were now in control, and they believed not only was France surrounded by foreign enemies, but that within the masses, there were also plenty of internal ones too. Individuals not loyal to the revolution, conspiring to bring about its downfall. Robespierre and the rest of the radical faction were having none of it. A new committee of public safety was established with 12 members. Its purpose was to protect the new French Republic from its enemies, and it basically became a 12-man dictatorship with Robespierre as its leading voice. The Revolutionary Tribunal was also reinstated, a special court created to streamline the process of trying suspected enemies and handing out their death sentences. With these two new institutions, Robespierre wanted to scare France's enemies straight. In September 1793,
Hey, using fear as a tactic to keep the people down has never worked. Like, it'll work for the short run, but eventually when the people have nothing to lose, well, they have nothing to lose. You want to know how you actually control people? You need to give them something to lose, right? So you don't really want to, like, restrict them to the point where they don't have anything to lose. If not, they'll just be like, oh, screw this, I'm gonna rebel. I don't care if I die, I have nothing to lose anyways. But you want to, like, give them, like, you know, certain privileges that, hey, if you rebel, you're gonna lose said privilege. You don't want to do that, right? That's how you control people. I shouldn't be saying this on here. Yo, this reminds me of one time someone looked at me and was like, because they were like listening to me talk, and they were like, bro, I could honestly see you like leading a whole country. I was like, I jokingly told them, oh yeah, we'll like turn it into a dictatorship. And they were like, oh, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked either.
streamlined the process of trying suspected enemies and handing out their death
I mean that.
With these two new institutions, Robespierre wanted to scare France's enemies straight. In September 1793, it was announced that terror would be the order of the day. In other words, fear had become official government policy. And from then onwards, we enter into the period known as the Reign of Terror. Spies and secret police were everywhere and watched the people closely. France's public had to be extremely careful what they said and how they behaved. Obviously, criticizing this new system, or the government, would quickly have you sent off to the guillotine. But that's not all. Even the most minor offense could have you tried before the Revolutionary Tribunal. Hello, Citizen Martin. Hello, Miss.
Ironic. Ironic. I mean, this is why I say that the French Revolution was so ironic. Because it kind of was. Because in the end, did France really achieve anything? Kind of. But not. What do you think? Tell me. What do you think? Tell me. Did the French Revolution really achieve anything permanent? Anything noteworthy that we still, could look back at and be like, oh my gosh, the French Revolution achieved that? Because all that happened was that Napoleon came into power and he became emperor. What was the whole point of that revolution when you freaking have a freaking monarch come back, right? Have a freaking random general crown himself as the new monarch, right? The French Revolution what it turned out just makes no sense. It's kind of like how when Lenin and the Russian Revolution happened, he wanted like a Soviet communist utopia, but it just turned out to be something different. Right? And it was like, okay, what was the whole point of this if you replace one regime, air quotes, with another regime? Same thing here. What is the point of the revolution when you replace one regime with another regime? It makes you question, was the regime actually bad beforehand? Right? I'm just saying, what do you, seriously, if you think that the French Revolution did achieve something, please tell me. I would love to hear why. Seriously.
Minor offense could have you tried before the Revolutionary Tribunal. Hello, Citizen Martin. Hello, Monsieur Dubois. Monsieur? Did I just hear you say Monsieur? That's the old style of address, my friend. To the guillotine! You know what? I didn't like him, but I do feel kinda bad for the king and his family. Oof, expressing sympathy for the royal family, are we? To the guillotine! 12 sous for a loaf of bread? That's way overpriced. To the guillotine! Man, this bread line is taking forever. To the guillotine! And you look like you're thinking anti-revolutionary thoughts. To the guillotine. Max, we're sending...
I agree. If I was in a position of power, if I feel like someone's thinking anything against me, they gotta go. You might call me crazy. You might be, oh my god, this guy is crazy. Nah, bro. Nah. Nah. I don't care what anyone says. I can't even blame him for that, bro. What about the good apples? Well, one bad apple ruins the whole thing.
It's taking forever. To the guillotine. And you look like you're thinking anti-revolutionary thoughts.
To the guillotine.
Max, we're sending way too many people to the guillotine. To the guillotine! Chop, 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 chop. It was insane. All across France, about 40,000 people were killed for suspected crimes against liberty. Let's say your neighbor won't stop.
What's the population of France at this time? What was that number in proportion to the population of France at this time? Because 40,000 doesn't seem too much, right? I don't know. What was the population of France at this time? I need to know to compare.
Killed for suspected crimes against liberty. Let's say your neighbor won't stop mowing the lawn at 7 in the morning. Well, then all you gotta do is tell the government they've been talking smack about the revolution. And there's a good chance they'll end up in front of the Revolutionary Tribunal. Maybe they'll even be executed, taking a metaphorical load off your shoulders and a literal one off theirs. The most prominent victim of the Reign of Terror was a certain Marie Antoinette, who was tried and found guilty of treason in 1793. She expected she'd be brought to the guillotine in a royal carriage, fit for a queen. All the Republic could provide for her, however, was a wooden tumbril. At 37 years old, the most hated woman in French history met her end on...
What was she thinking? In a royal carriage? Dude, my brain... Bro, my brain just stopped. Oh, I just lost brain cells, bro. Holy crap, I lost brain cells. She actually expected to be brought in the royal carriage. I actually lost brain cells.
At 37 years old, the most hated woman in French history met her end on the 16th of October, 1793. Robespierre had saved the revolution through terror. Internal dissent was being suppressed. The food situation was no longer quite as bad. Even the French military had got its act together again.
Really? Okay, interesting.
And pummeled the Allies at the Battle of Fleurus. For Danton and his followers, the time was right to try to normalize the French Republic. Hey Robespierre, so we were thinking that since things are finally going better, maybe we should rein in the terror. And while we're on it, we could possibly start taking it easier on the church, and also try to end this costly war. Oh, crap. As time went on...
Why would Robespierre not do that? What? He has a point though, right? What in the world are you thinking, Robespierre? What in the world are you thinking? This guy is just tyrannical at this point.
Oh, crap. As time went on, Robespierre seemed to go, for lack of a better term, a bit mental. He was hell-bent on creating what he called a republic of virtue, and for him, this meant amping up the bloodshed even more. Throughout the spring and summer of 1794, executions reached an unprecedented level during a period known as the Great Terror. Even those closest to him found their way to the guillotine if they dared oppose his ideas and actions, and he began alienating himself from the rest of the convention. He created a new deistic religion called the Cult of the Supreme Being, along with the new annual Festival of the Supreme Being. Man, I think Robespierre is really starting to lose it. He thinks he's a god or something. Nonsense. Sure, he's gone a little extreme, but he doesn't think he's a god. My children, bathe your immortal souls in the virtue of my republic.
Internet connection protected.
Okay.
Alright. Oh, I unpaused the video. Whatever.
Yeah, he's completely lost it. Robespierre's ultimate mistake, however, came on July 26th, when he made a speech to the National Convention, in which he said this: I have in my hand a brand new list of enemies to be sent to the guillotine, and many of you are on this list, but I'm not going to tell you who yet. What do you think of that? I think we should send Robespierre to the guillotine first. All in favor? Oh, no. 2 days later, Robespierre became the victim of the monstrous terror and paranoia he had created. Many historical accounts of the revolution end here with the death
Thank God.
of Robespierre and his terror. But the revolution officially continued for another 5 years, until 1799. So what happened between now and then? Well, after the fall of Robespierre, a more moderate political group called the Thermidorians took control of the convention. They wanted to restore stability to the government. Now, Robespierre's allies and other radicals who had fueled the terror themselves became the target of political suppression. Bourgeois street fighters took on the radical sans-culottes in the streets.
Touche! Honestly, well deserved. Freaking hell, man.
In 1795, the Thermidorians drafted a new constitution and created a government called the Directory, with the purpose of preventing power from being able to fall into the hands of a single individual again. As this new government was being established, royalists who wanted to bring the monarchy back to France saw this moment as an opportunity to strike.
I was actually trying to figure out what in the world were the royalists doing this whole time.
Staged an insurrection in Paris and battled with the National Guard in the streets. Luckily, one Napoleon Bonaparte happened to be in Paris at the time, and he took control of the situation, firing on the crowd and putting down the insurrection. From this moment on, the people of Paris would never again be able to stage a popular uprising and lost their control over the revolution. For his actions, Napoleon became a general and was sent to take control of the French armies in Italy. The new
And I made a reaction to Napoleon in Italy. Go check it out. That series was the bomb. Go check it out. If you're new, go check it out. Alright, go check it. And if you do like watching my stuff and you're a returning viewer and you haven't watched it, go check it out. Seriously, man.
Their control over the revolution. For his actions, Napoleon became a general and was sent to take control of the French armies in Italy. The new Directory remained a fairly ineffective government for the remainder of the revolution. It was plagued with corruption and struggled to keep the economy afloat, and as a result, wasn't very popular. For the people of France, With the strict social customs of both royalist France and the terror gone, they didn't really know what to do with themselves. Men no longer removed their hats when talking to women, different classes began intermingling, and a publication began circulating that looked a lot like a modern dating app. It was social anarchy. Outside of France, the war continued. In 1795, France took the Netherlands, where they set up a puppet state. Then they negotiated both Prussia and...
Okay, I want to learn more about this. The Batavian Republic. Does anyone know about this? And why did France set this up? Because I know France eventually annexed it, but why did they set it up as a republic at first, right? What was the reasoning behind that, right? Did the Dutch people want that, right?
And Spain out of the war. The British attempted to land French royalists in the west to reinforce rebellion, but that plan failed. In 1796, the French planned a three-pronged attack with the aim of marching on Vienna and knocking Austria out of the war. The two northern armies were defeated and forced to retreat. However, Napoleon in the south, with groundbreaking military strategy, won battle after battle after...
Napoleon in Italy, Napoleon has... There were many times where freaking Napoleon could have lost. He had a lot of so much close, way like that one time where the Austrians got lost, I think, when it reacted to Napoleon in Italy, and the Austrians accidentally went into Napoleon's freaking house and demanding him to surrender, but then Napoleon pretended like he had troops around. That was hilarious. But that was like, if they didn't fall for that cap, that Napoleon history would be a lot different. Let's continue.
And knocking Austria out of the war. The two northern armies were defeated and forced to retreat. However, Napoleon in the south, with groundbreaking military strategy, won battle after battle after battle. He pushed the Austrians out of Italy and began closing in on Vienna. The Austrians freaked out, and Napoleon oversaw the signing of a peace treaty. He had almost single-handedly knocked Austria out of the war, and by the way, he was only 28, so maybe it's about time you moved out of your mom's basement.
Hey! I have a future, alright? I have a future. This YouTube channel that I'm doing, I'm 19 right now, okay? This YouTube channel, bloody hell. This YouTube channel that I'm doing, it's just kind of a side thing, right? It's just there for 1A, I want a platform to express my opinion. 2, I want to interact with people who have the same passion as me and discuss on topics like this. 3, money, let's be real. And yeah, but no, I seriously do have like other things that eventually are going for me. I have a few options in my life that I can take right now. I'm not gonna talk too much about that, but just the whole YouTube thing, like, I don't really plan on being a full-time YouTuber unless you people love me so much that you people would gladly donate to me. It would be nice, okay? It would be nice in a way, But seriously though, yeah, this whole YouTube thing, I don't plan to be full-time, so let's continue.
Napoleon became a famed hero among the French people, but his aspirations were still higher. He briefly went off to Egypt and discovered a bunch of gnarly Egyptian stuff, but then the British destroyed...
I also reacted to that. Go check out my Napoleon in Egypt reaction. That was mad. I had so much to say. I think one of my Napoleon in Egypt reactions was like an hour long. I think this reaction is like an hour long. Holy... I didn't expect this reaction to be a whole freaking hour long. Bloody hell. Well, I guess, if you like me speaking, that's more of me talking. Let's continue.
And trapped his forces. Say, Napoleon, sir, you're not going to leave us here stuck in Egypt and return to France, are you? Nonsense, my boy. I would never dream of abandoning my loyal soldiers. Wow, what's that over there? On his return to Paris, Napoleon found himself to be extremely popular, and the government extremely unpopular, and he started getting some power-hungry ideas. Conveniently, a politician named Emmanuel Joseph Sieyès approached Napoleon and said, "Hey man, since you're so popular, do you want to help me stage a coup?" "Great idea! Let's stage a coup, and then I'll coup you." What? Napoleon, with that...
I watched this. I did a reaction to this. It was crazy, but I don't think Epic History TV did the part where Napoleon cooed Emmanuel. I did a reaction, and we watched it together where Napoleon cooed the government, right? So yeah, I look forward to more of that. Let's continue.
His politician brother entered the government chamber, possibly got punched in the face, and finally his troops intimidated the council to dissolve the government and create a new constitution that basically made Napoleon a dictator. So there you have it, the French Revolution, born with the great promise of liberty and equality. The common people dared challenge an oppressive system that had existed for centuries. But before they knew it, they found liberty sidelined by terror, equality that possibly didn't quite hit the mark, and an absolute monarchy replaced by an absolute dictator. Napoleon began stabilizing French society. He restored the Catholic Church and got rid of that crazy calendar, among other things. But he remained ever ambitious. He was France's first consul, but he slept soundly at night dreaming of being something even bigger. Napoleon's expansionist aspirations, combined with the ongoing conflict in Europe, would eventually lead the continent into a huge conflict known today as...
And that's a series that I'm reacting to by Epic History TV. You've made it all the way to the end of this video. Make sure that you subscribe because you made it all the way to the end, so you like what I have to say. If you have any suggestions for me, make sure that you recommend it to me in the comments below. Eventually, I will get to it. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. Check out these videos that are on your screen. You're probably going to like them. If not, go on my channel page and scroll through, see if you like something that I reacted to. And goodbye.